Howdy folks, I'm Cranky Crossline Skipper, crossly crossing crowded cornfields.
I'm Amber.
And here are more cornfields for us to cross over, but no, they weren't cornfields, they were cornflakes. Fields of cornflakes. Much like the Reddit stories that we're reading, cornflakes. I don't know what that means. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for making my husband sleep on the floor this time instead of taking one for the team, which I always do, and then threatening him with divorce if he slept in the bed? My husband's snoring is like an earthquake. It shakes the walls. At home, we have separate bedrooms because of it, and even with several walls between us, I still need noise-canceling earphones to sleep soundly. We are visiting his family, where we have to share a bed to sleep. Every time we visit, it ends up in the same way, with him happily snoring the night away and me unable to sleep all night. Since he is impossible to deal with after he's fallen asleep, meaning that even forcefully waking him up only leads to him getting angry at me, rolling over, and going right back to sleep, he's never once decided to stay awake or leave the bedroom to let me sleep. Well, I decided that this time I'm not taking any chances. I demanded that he sleeps on the floor outside of the bedroom while I get the bed. Only fair, I think, since every time I'm the one who is forced to take a pillow and a blanket to sleep in the uncomfortable pile on the floor, and every morning after he acts like I was the unreasonable one for leaving the bedroom instead of sleeping through it. Well, before we went to visit his family this time, he promised endlessly that this time I wouldn't end up sleeping on the floor. He said that his snoring got better, it really didn't, and even promised that he would stay up much longer than me to give me time to already be asleep by the time that he went to bed, so that I wouldn't be kept awake by his snoring. I strongly insisted that we get an air mattress at least, since I knew that I would inevitably end up on the floor again, knowing him. And he very strongly refused. And he even had the gall to get offended at my suggestion. And he berated me about being pessimistic and how it hurts his feelings to hear that I don't trust him, etc. Well, guess what? We're at his parents' place now, and it's barely midnight. And my husband yawned and announced that he was tired and was going to go to bed early. I pulled him aside and I reminded him that he promised me that he would stay up late to allow me to sleep for a bit for once. He shrugged and was like, oh yeah, but it's whatever. Don't worry, I promise I won't snore. I said that I would allow him to go to bed early, but that on his mother's life, that if he was snoring by the time I came into the bedroom, I wouldn't even attempt to sleep by his side. That I would leave the house, I would get a hotel for the night, and I would serve him with divorce papers first thing in the morning. His whole "it's cool, chill" attitude immediately turned into panic, and he begged me not to do anything rash, and that he's so sorry, and that he can't control his snoring. I told him that he can't control his snoring, but he can control whether he respects me and whether he keeps his promises. And he just willfully chose to break his promise to me, and in doing so, he showed how little he respected me. And he was panicking and freaking out on me and repeatedly begging me to please be reasonable. So I went into the bedroom, I grabbed a pillow and one blanket, and I led him to the spot on the floor where I sleep every single time we visit his family, because it's the only spot far enough away not to hear his snoring. And I told him that he could go to bed there on the floor, if he still wanted to be a married man tomorrow morning. He told me that I couldn't be serious. I reminded him that his bad snoring and his bad attitude about the snoring forced me to sleep in that spot many times, and that every time we come here, it's for his sake because we are visiting his family, and I'm sick of being sacrificed at the altar of him not caring about how his snoring affects me and the people around him. I also reminded him that I insisted that we get an air mattress for the poor person, usually me, who is forced to sleep on the floor because of his snoring. And he was the one who categorically refused. Suddenly, he did want an air mattress and regretted saying no. What a surprise! He was like a sad puppy, but he complied. Currently in the bedroom, and I can tell that he's not asleep because I would be hearing his muffled snoring through the walls. So I guess he's discovering for the first time just how uncomfortable I was all the times that he forced me to sleep on the floor. I really hope that he learns a lesson from this and in the future accepts reasonable accommodations instead of asserting that he will just magically not snore for one night. I understand that he's going through a lot of self-esteem and ego issues regarding his snoring. He feels bad about it, and he deals with those feelings by putting it all out of his mind and acting like he doesn't snore at all. But I'm the one who has to deal with the Category 5 hurricane noises coming out of him whenever he is asleep. So am I the jerk? Edit, I addressed it in the comments, but this is the one thing that people seem to want a comment on. So here. I know that he needs a sleep study and a CPAP machine. He actively refuses. He won't even mention the snoring to his doctor. It's an ego thing for him. He does not want to address the issue because it would make him feel bad to admit how bad it's been all along. We had countless spats about it, and it's one of the, if not the biggest problem in our marriage. I begged him to try to reason with him. I brought up the statistics and the facts about sleep apnea and the works. He's not interested, and he's a grown adult. I can't force him to go to a clinic if he refuses. He always has an excuse on why he won't get his snoring checked out. He ends up always implying, if not outright saying, that the problem is not that his snoring is bad, but rather that I'm exceptionally a light sleeper and that he's the one giving me leeway with my sleep problems rather than admitting that it's him with the medical issues. Even recording him snoring doesn't work. It just angers him, and he refuses to accept what his snoring actually sounds like. He accused me of editing the audio and cranking up the decibels just to make him feel bad. I know that he needs a sleep study. He refuses it with the stubbornness of an 8-year-old child at the dentist. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. It's what had to be done. Like, generally, ultimatums are not a good thing. But when your partner shows so little regard for you, like, it's kind of at the point where he needs to put up or, not be married anymore, The fact that he just, like, is okay with forcing OP to sleep in a really uncomfortable position. Like, as soon as it's him, he's like, oh, why didn't I get the air mattress? Like, it's just, yeah, I don't blame OP at all.
I think OP should have just brought the air mattress anyways. Just brought it. Been like, no, we're getting an air mattress and we're bringing it. So I think that there's a lot of problems in this marriage. I think that OP and him, if they haven't gone to couples counseling, then they probably need to start going to couples counseling. I don't know, like we've said before, if you start giving ultimatums, then there's deep problems in the relationship, right?
Well, I think the big deep problem is his magical thinking.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to admit that he has a problem.
Yeah.
He somehow feels bad about the idea that he has a problem. So instead of admitting it because he'd feel bad, he is in denial, which actually actively makes his wife suffer. It is not good for his health either.
No.
And so, like, I don't know. It might be at the point where maybe it's time to tell him, get a straight sleep study or we're done.
Yeah, the thing is that it's such a difficult situation, and OP is in a bad position, and it seems like she is really unhappy with the relationship just because of this one big issue. And this is a big issue.
It is.
Right?
It's affecting her quality of life as well as his. And he is like, just goes on about like, oh no, don't worry, I won't snore. Don't worry, like we don't need an air mattress. How can you not have faith in me?
Yeah.
When he has this entire track record of OP having to sleep on the floor all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it probably doesn't bother them so much at home because they have 2 bedrooms and OP sleeps in another bedroom. So I think like they found a place where they can coexist together without it being too much of a problem. But here it kind of shows maybe there's more going on in this relationship, especially if he has a fundamental disrespect for OP like this, or a lack of respect for OP. Like, he was willing to just break his promise to OP with no questions asked.
But and like again, like he doesn't have any problem with her sleeping on the floor, but as soon as she suggests that he sleep on the floor, it's, oh no, how can you do this to me? Be reasonable. It's like, dude, you're the one who needs to be reasonable.
Well, she's acting like he's acting like she's asking him to sleep on a bed of nails.
I know. I mean, even if she had to sleep on that bed of nails every single time she was there, it might be his turn.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, My Wife Wants a Divorce Because I Told Her That I Would Water Her Regularly for Photosynthesis. Throwaway account because half embarrassed to post this in the first place. My wife, a 26-year-old female, and I, a 28-year-old male, have been married for 6 months now. We don't joke around usually, since I have figured out early on that she's not too big into jokes, and I'm not that much of a jokester. Well, yesterday I was randomly sitting on my couch watching stuff when she just came up to me and asked if I would still love her if she were a plant. So I'm very much aware of trap questions that exist, and my first thought was to make sure that I would give her a good answer. I told her that I would still love her and that I would water her regularly for photosynthesis. I wasn't joking here, although I know that it might sound silly. I said it very seriously too. Usually when I joke, I laugh right afterwards because I can't handle my own embarrassing jokes either. But this wasn't one of those cases. My wife just looked at me dead in the face like I said something really wrong. She said that it was insensitive of me to joke about that and that I could have phrased it better. I got a little defensive because I found it absurd that she kept saying that it was a bit too much to joke about her question when I wasn't trying to do that. Then suddenly she said that she wanted to divorce me, which made me laugh. I agreed that it wasn't the best time to laugh, but it came out accidentally. And she said, "See, you're not taking this seriously at all." We had a small argument, which then escalated with her bringing out my past nonchalant ways of talking that she said was very immature and not considerate of the other person. She got really upset and brought up divorce again. I thought that she might be sulky and will let this go soon enough, but she's dead serious about this. She called her mom today saying that she's considering a little divorce. Her mom hasn't said anything or called me yet, and wife isn't talking to me at all. I'm genuinely lost because I don't mean what I said with any bad intentions. Just when I felt like I settled down a bit, this happens and I'm not sure what I should be doing. Is there anything that I could do to make her feel better? I really don't want a divorce due to something like this, but I'm willing to correct my ways of answering or talking. All right, folks, what do you think?
I think that she just wants an out. Nothing in OP's response, like the question she asked is not one you can really give a serious answer to. And OP gave about as serious an answer to the question as you could give and showed due respect. Like, yeah, I'd even still water you. And so her reaction here is very baffling. And again, I get the feeling that she just wants an out for the relationship, was looking to pick a fight.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of gives me the whole, would you still love me if I was a tank type of vibes?
Or if I was a worm.
Yeah. Um, what I'm kind of wondering about is if there's a language barrier here, because it looks like just the way that OP's kind of written this they might not be a native English speaker just because of how they phrase certain things. So I'm wondering if they have like either don't speak like the same on the same level of fluency, or if something was lost in translation, or
Well, Opie does say in the comments that the question was not, is she a vegetable?
yeah, because the one thing that I could see is like, oh, if they were asking if they were a vegetable, or if there was some other thing, oh, some other way she was trying to phrase this, or something that sounded very similar. I don't know. I think that the wife needs counseling, or she's actively looking for an out, like what Amber said.
Well, and she did like bring up some things that Opie doesn't elaborate on. He's like, she brought up like past things I'd said that, weren't like a very good way of talking. And so I'm like wondering about those. I'd like to know more about what specifically she brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's a real issue or again, if she's trying to create something that wasn't there so she can get out of the marriage.
Yeah, and it does feel more like she's just trying to get out of the marriage, because this is such an odd thing to, break up a marriage about, right? To be like, but if she truly feels disrespected or talked down to by OP, then they may just have a different communication style, or OP is leaving out information and is really just talking down to her a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe when said it, he was like, if you were a plant, of course, if you were a plant, I would water you and photosynthesis you. Like, I mean, it could just be one of those situations. It's hard to say. Like, we only have OP's account here, and OP doesn't sound unreasonable, but this is such an odd situation that I don't know what to think about it. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Misguided hero. I mean, he was willing to water her.
I mean, I don't know if that's quite hero territory, but I mean. Now the real question is, would you still love me if I was a plant?
I would water you for proper photosynthesis, and I would probably actually try to remember to water you. Our plants are not happy plants, Amber.
Yeah,
You should not be a plant. I don't think it would suit you.
it would not suit me very well at all.
All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, My wife wants to eat a phallic-shaped thing in public, and I disagree. Am I the jerk? My wife and I are both 40, and we've been married for 16 years, together for 21. We were on vacation in Mexico, walking along Fifth Avenue, enjoying the sights, shops, bars, and restaurants. I stopped by a vendor to purchase some souvenirs for our daughters, not on the trip with us, when she excitedly exclaimed that she was going to check a store nearby. I finished paying for my items, and then she came up to me giggling, saying that she needed some money to purchase something. I was holding the money that we exchanged before for pesos. Approaching the store, I see it's a novelty shop selling large, penis-shaped popsicles. I incredulously asked her if she thought that it made sense to be walking down the street eating a penis. And she immediately responded that I killed her vibe. She didn't purchase the popsicle and then proceeded to be reticent for the remainder of the night. This was on the second day of our 7-day vacation, and it sort of soured the remainder of the trip. Back at home, our friends are mostly saying that it was just innocent fun and that I should have just rolled with it. I maintain my position as to what a self-respecting married man will agree with his wife walking in public licking such an item for all of this world to see, whether on vacation with total strangers or not. Am I the jerk for thinking that there should be some kind of boundary or etiquette for this? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that Opie's overreacting here. I mean, this is, it's not that deep. It's not an uncommon thing. It's a little juvenile, but it's not unheard of. I mean, when I was in college, would sell vulva-shaped lollipops to raise money for the vagina monologues.
Yeah.
So,
And domestic violence.
yeah. Well, because we get donated the proceeds to like different organizations, including like domestic violence organizations and stuff. So, it was just a silly fundraiser, and it would have been ridiculous for people to get upset or offended. Like if someone were to eat one, it's like whatever. Again, it's just kind of silly fun.
Yeah. The thing is, like, if this was around their children, I would say it would be different, right? Because like that might be in poor taste. But I think that this is not in its inherently a thing that OP should be too worried about. It seems more like just something that is something that she was having fun with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And OP just kind of spoiled her fun. And I mean, I certainly understand maybe his discomfort to some degree, but there are a lot of places that have phallic shaped objects, and
I mean, they're staple at like bachelorette parties and stuff. Like if the wife were to go to a bachelorette party, would he be upset if she and the friends ate, equivalent item there?
Yeah. So I mean, again, like she was just trying to have some fun, and it seems like OP kind of rained on their parade, and I mean, everyone's going to have different boundaries in a relationship, or not boundaries, but everyone's going to have different deal breakers in a relationship. And OP, like, I can understand that this is kind of a deal breaker for them, but it just seems like they're kind of taking themselves too seriously because of like the way they kind of talk about this. Like, no self-respecting married man would do this, right?
Well, and that's the thing is like lots of self-respecting married men would not care because like what does it say? Nothing. It's just again it's just silly and a little juvenile.
Yeah, but let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What might you call cuddles from a small dog?
From a small dog? I would call them puppy cuddles. Puppy love? I don't know.
Pug hugs.
Pug hugs. Ah.
It's National Hug Your Dog Day.
So make sure to hug your dog. Give them a nice squeeze. If you don't have a dog, then find a neighbor's dog to hug.
Yeah, only hug dogs that want to be hugged. And it's also Encourage a Young Writer Day today.
So also go find a young writer for you to encourage. Or encourage yourself if you are a young writer.
Yes, all the encouragement to young writers out there.
Like Amber, she's a very young writer.
Not at this point in time.
And I have licorice spice. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday Junior, folks.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Thanks so much to Amber for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on bizarre relationship problems.
Don't sweat the small stuff, and do make sure you are respecting your partner.
Yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.